I may have it fixed. I don't think I have it muted though. No, not muted.
Yet, obviously.
Well, we are. We're gonna have to be because I gotta go down there.
I can post a note over it. Clayton Tribune rocks.
We
Yeah, your computer's.
we're up and live now. The other thing I've
So we got 4 more minutes. Well, I know we're up and live on the camera. Can we actually mute what we're saying right now?
Yeah, for a minute.
Yeah.
In Iceland, country smaller, Rhode Island, beat equal. 2-1. Just get to watch it.
I did, but I learned to short. To short range. To be more brief.
You have to use Facebook speak. LOL, TKL, GRL.
Okay.
I love it.
So we're
It's a lot of fun.
it actually keeps going, and then I can just cut the videos off.
Yeah, my brother, Luke and I were at Raven Aid programs. We were able to make it.
Oh, how did Raven Aid go?
It was good. It was really good. It was much smaller than normally. We usually have about 75 members. We had about 45.
If it,
Yeah.
So much smaller, but it's still a good group.
well, yeah, I have
We were able to get a lot done. So
nowhere close to really plugging in.
That's good. I'm glad.
yeah, it just took much longer days than expected. Because normally we get done around 3 o'clock. We get done around 5:30 or 6. So
Yeah.
longer work days.
About 7 hours, 3 minutes.
Almost. G-Rip Trigger. How do you get your hand down in there? Just making sure I got power. My phone's down at 49%.
I've got another extension cord should you need one. Yeah, it's got a flat thing too. You want real power.
Yeah, I'm afraid that if it's on just the computer, it'll die.
Get it in?
Yep.
Okay. One minute.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and hit. Watch this and it dies. Or if it's not recorded, hit the button. No. If we go let me make sure I get the setting right. Because it's already down to 48% charging.
Dad. Brother. Yes. Nope.
Soft place to lay down.
That's right.
Should be good to go.
Good evening. Welcome to the Clayton Tribune's Georgia State House District 8 runoff debate between Mr. Kent Warner and Mr. Matt Gertler. A few little housekeeping notes real quick. If you would please turn off cell phones or at least put them on vibrate. Chances are you don't have a signal in here anyway. Please also keep any applause or anything of that nature to a bare minimum, just like our last debates for those of you who are here. We're going to go ahead and kick things off with the opening statement. First up, Mr. Matt Gertler.
Hey, can you hear me? I am Matt Gertler, and I live in the Government Conservative Republican. I'm a home builder here with my father, and also at the University of North Georgia, along with my degree there. That's initially where I came involved in politics. I was 18. I was 9 years ago. I'm 27 now. But the last 4 years I've been legislative aide to Representative Stephen Allison down in the Capitol. Throughout this debate, I'd like to ask yourselves this question: what is the proper role of government? Government was created by people to protect your life, your liberty, and your property. That was it. Now you see it intruding unnecessarily into our daily lives, our children's education, and our businesses. And everybody agrees that government has got to have control. We've got to stand up against the establishment. We've got to go back to our roots, back to the principles that make this country great. We have to have more limited government, more personal responsibility, more local control. While we're at it, we should go back to the Constitution. I believe if we would have stuck to the Constitution in the first place, then we would have been a lot better off than we are today.
Mr. Warner.
Well, thank everybody for coming out here tonight. I know that these next 2 years, the last 2 years of our governor, we're going to be spending a lot of time with education. The funding formula for education needs to be redone. They're going to have opportunity school districts that are going forward. They're going to be vocational schools and changes in our vocational schools that are coming back to our high schools and after high school. And the thing that really concerns me is that there's no one down there under the gold dome who really has any educational experience. And I do have that experience. I have 32 years of experience in education and want to go down there and make some changes to the way we do education down the road. I also have leadership in the military. I have 8 years in the military as an officer in the United States Army, where I led as many as 180 men at one time. So I do have leadership. I have the time to devote to this job. Thank you.
Now for the question, Clark Bird, editor of the Clayton Tribune.
Okay, gentlemen. With the field of candidates reduced to 82, what do you feel is the difference between you as candidates? What sets you apart?
Mr. Girdler.
Well, I am younger, but I fundamentally have different opinion on a lot of the principles behind candidacy. I don't agree with the budget. I think the government is out of control with this budget. It keeps growing every year, up by $2 billion almost this last session, $1.9 billion. I don't think that's the proper role of government to keep growing and growing. HB 170, I've been outspoken about this throughout all the debates. It's the largest tax increase in Georgia history. That's a problem. We've got to go back to our principles. If we really were Republicans and we stick to the principles of the party, the Republicans are supposed to be fiscally conservative for a limited government. And what you see is the opposite at the Capitol every day. And I was down there for 4 years and I got to see this happen right in front of my eyes. Getting more passionate about what I'm doing, but also made me very angry about what I saw. But ultimately what I've learned is you have to have principles in politics, and that's lacking.
Mr. Warner.
Okay. It's true, we did have a record $2 billion budget, $2 billion over our normal budget. But the budget itself is over 500 pages long. And I think the place to cut the budget is to go back to the Appropriations Committee and look there to see what is coming through. I was asked one time about where I would cut. That's where I would look for cuts. I would go back to the Appropriations Committee and look in there and find different areas to cut before it ever even came to the budget.
Thank you. Now we go to our next question, will be Mr. Tony Allred of the Raven County Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. This question is asking you to describe your strategy for communicating.
I don't think they can hear the question.
Can you hear me now?
We can
No. Good. Fine. Well, this question is asking you to describe your strategy for communicating with your constituents.
Oh, that's for me. I guess I'm just my turn to answer first. For me, that's very easy. I would love to go back to have town hall meetings throughout the district in White County, Union County, Towns County, Raven County. I think that would be a fantastic way. I saw it done in my county where I lived in Clayton County, where they would have meetings in the fire stations, and I think that would be a great thing, great tool to use to come back and speak with the community, both for me to give them information and for them to ask me questions. town hall meetings. So of course, I would also use Facebook, but I still think that the dialogue, back and forth dialogue is very, very important.
Mr. Gerler?
I agree with town halls, and also social media, things like that. But I've been going door to door to constituents' homes. I knock on thousands and thousands of doors to talk to people one-on-one what the issues are. If I'm elected, I want complete transparency and accountability. Every single vote that I cast, I'll have on my website. Every vote that says yes or no will have an explanation behind it. I want complete transparency and accountability when I'm elected. And I do that not just on the right thing to do, but I want people to really know what's going on at the Capitol. If they've seen what I've seen down in the last 4 years, people will be upset. There'll be a lot more activism, a lot more involvement. Overall, we would have a better district because we would be more informed. That's kind of my plan for that. And when like I said, I go door to door, so I can bring my message directly to the voter. I try to lead by example. I hope more politicians will do this in the future. No one's doing it right now. And I think that's the best way to do it. Thank you.
Okay. Now that you've been around campaigning and talking with potential voters, what would you say is the district's most pressing problem, and what is your plan as representative to resolve it?
Mr. Gerler?
I talk to a lot of voters, and a lot of people say they want jobs. We want economic growth and job creation. And this is why I'm different than Mr. Warner, because I want a free market. I want to go back to the principles, like I said, right? We have to be fiscally conservative. We shouldn't be picking winners and losers. Subsidies, I mentioned that before, but corporate welfare was called like it is. I don't agree with that. That is picking winners and losers. That's only in the private sector. I'm a home builder. Where's my subsidy? This is not the proper role of government whatsoever. Georgia legislature doles out hundreds of millions of dollars to certain companies. Kia, Delta, Mercedes headquarters. It goes on and on. We mentioned on the budget before. Touched on it. Open that budget up. I've opened up for the last 4 years, and 9 times out of 10 you'll see something that is not the proper role of government whatsoever. And we have got to get back to our roots. We have got to get back to the Constitution. We have to get back, like I said in my opening statement, to the principles. That is the ultimate thing we have got to get back to.
Mr. Warner?
He's correct. The number one thing that I've heard is jobs. We need to diversify our economy. We spend a lot on tourism up here, both in Raven towns and Union, and also White. Tourism is probably one of our main industries, but I can tell you that people are concerned because if the economy ever turns, we can't so simply survive on tourism. We're going to have to diversify what's happening in our economy. We're going to have jobs, and we need to have jobs also for our kids to come back to after they've gone off to college or gone off to trade school. We have to have jobs for them to come back to, and I think the only way to do that, there's a lot of ways to do that. Number one, education, continue to change the way we educate our children in vocational schools. There's a lot of need for welders in our area, and electricians as well. And we've got to get our vocational schools training those people so they can come back and take the jobs that are right here, right now. They're actually companies begging for those skills.
The next question is, what is your position on state versus local control of our education system?
What, I said that first part again?
What is the position on state versus local control in education, Mr. Warner?
That's real easy. I truly believe in local control because when you look at the state funds Raven County, for example, and the other counties are very similar. 24%, we get 24% of our money from the state, and we have to come up with 76% of our money locally. So I'm sitting there thinking, why do they get to tell us, 100% what we need to do when we're funding it 76%? So my thing would be to have more local control of our schools, more local control really of how we fund our schools because it's our money here anyway, it's our local money. So that would be my answer for that.
Mr. Gerler?
Well, more local control. Ultimately, education should be in charge of the parents. Ultimately, it's the parent and the teachers. We should be empowering them instead of this top-down approach that we have to see nowadays, especially with the federal government coming down a top-down approach on Common Core and things like that. There should be left up to the states, but ultimately to the community. and that's where it is best at. And bringing vocational schools, training back into schools is good as well. My father actually taught woodwork in Raven County for 2 years. And I had a constituent the other day I was talking to that said that helped him out a lot. He still remembers that. So ultimate control should be local, and community involved, and that's how we can change things. The states have all the rights. I mean, we have, the sovereignty remains with the states. Not a lot of people know that. I think the federal government has sovereignty, but they don't. We can nullify a lot of these federal statutes come down in our system. But another thing I wanted to mention was how there's so many bureaucrats in our education system now, and where we're like top-down approach, like I said, we should be empowering the teachers and the parents instead of the child's education.
Thank you. Follow-up, you both advocate for more local control. So at what level should state funding play a part in that? Should Raven County schools, White County schools, Union or Towns County schools be receiving state funding? Because as we all know, with state funding comes a level of control. Mr. Warner.
So your question is what level of control?
What level of control? Assuming that neither one of you is advocating for total no state funds in any of your counties or your district.
Well, I mean, the question, you're going to, the reason we have to turn in money to the state is because you have your wealthy school districts and your school districts that don't have as much money. So we have to turn in money to the state, and the money comes back to us. I mean, we have to fund the school with the money that comes back to us, plus the money that we have locally. And I just think that local control, we should be able to choose how we spend that money, but the current formula forces us to put kids in certain classrooms that we may not really want to do, it may not be necessary, it may not be the most efficient way to do it. And that's why I think with the money coming back to us and not the state not having the current funding formula on us and mandating how we have to spend that money, we could actually turn around and spend that money more efficiently to run our schools. Locally, we could then run our schools more efficiently and more.
Mr. Gerler.
Well, I agree with Mr. Warner. What we're talking about, it's not state funding, it's oversight. And we've got to have the oversight so we can have the curriculum that we want and not spend $124 million on testing. That's a waste of money. So I do agree with that. And that's where we're on the same page here. One thing I do am different about is school voucher tax credit voucher systems where people can choose their form of education for private school, or homeschool, virtual, or public school. And that was on the ballot actually on May 24th. Overwhelmingly, Republicans chose, 73% said they wanted school choice. They would have more oversight over their local schools and their community. So I'm right in line with the people, I'm right in line with the Republican Party as well. And I think that's the best way to do it.
All right, Mr. Governor, since receiving PAC money from Citizens for Allison, and I believe American Federation for Children, we're wondering if you've accepted any other PAC monies, and if your interest is in representing constituents, why take PAC money?
Not all PAC money is bad. I think everything makes it out to be, local. The school choice is the American Federation for Children. They advocate for school choice that I'm part of. Planned Parenthood, I would not take PAC money from them. There's good PAC money, there's bad PAC money. You can go PAC. I represent the constituents by upholding the Constitution and the values and beliefs that we have. And this showed very well. My message resonated extremely well throughout the district. I came in first place by a large margin at 12 points. I've been consistent with my message, and people understand that and they like that. And it showed. That's just the facts. But you have to represent the people through their interests as well, but ultimately the principle that you believe in the Constitution. And that's why I'm elected. That's what they elect me for, to represent their values and beliefs.
Mr. Warner, this question is very similar and it's for you. Since receiving PAC money from Georgians for Good Government on March 3rd and Georgia Real Estate on April 14th, have you accepted more? And if the interest is in representing constituents, why take that money?
Well, it takes a lot of money to run a campaign and to get your message out to the community. That's one of the things I learned. This is my first time to ever run for a seat, and it takes a tremendous amount of money to get your message out there. That's one thing that I've learned. I have accepted some additional PAC money. I will tell you that. I've accepted that. But one of the things I'm extremely proud of, the Tribune actually put it in there, is that 80% of the money, people that donated to me were from the district. And I'm extremely proud of that. I've received, in fact, now it's probably closer to 90%. 90% of the money that I've received, 90% of the donations I've received have been from within the district. And it's people sharing with me their concerns about the district and their need and wanting to see me get elected to this position.
Gentlemen, for both of you, Southern Polyurethane of Blairsville donated the maximum to both your campaigns. Were you aware of the donation? And if so, are you aware of why they donated the maximum?
Mr. Girdler.
Yeah, I actually had Barry Cox as the owner. I went to Barry canvassing businesses as I canvass businesses and I canvass door to door, get my message out. And I talked to him for about 45 minutes. It's kind of a funny story. He said he wasn't going to donate to me. He said he wasn't going to donate to anybody outside the district. But I sat down and talked to him for 45 minutes and he donated to me the max. It was unbelievable. But people believe in me. That's why he donated to me. And that's the end of the story right there.
Mr. Warner.
I mean the same thing. I toured Barry. Barry doesn't even live in our district, but he works in our district, and he has many employees that work in the district. And I went by to see him, and he took me on a tour of his business there. And he's the kind of business that I'd like to see come in, where I think he has only 25 employees, but all 25 employees make about $60,000 a year. So it's a great little business that has moved into the Union County community. But I sat down and talked with him, and at that point, he decided to donate $2,500 to me also. So I felt after sharing with him my interest in bringing jobs in the community, he felt like that he wanted to donate, and so we did. And I'm doing the same thing that Matt's doing.
Mr. Warner, one of the most pressing issues for Reagan County is our need for jobs creation. Having spent nearly your entire career as an employee of a government body, what is your plan to support economic growth through business?
Well, one of the things that we have to do is we have to get businesses to start looking at Reagan County and what we have to offer. And I think when they look at what we have to offer up here with our water, we have a tremendous water system. I think that's going to be second to none. I know Towns County is looking at the same thing. And, you need water in order for a lot of businesses to thrive. And I think that's one of the things that we can showcase. Certainly, one of the things, too, that we need to do is work with the Chamber of Commerce and start getting companies, especially small companies, clean companies, to look at Northeast Georgia instead of always looking around the metro area. I mean, the metro area, you have traffic problems. You have distribution problems. When you can come up here, as we continue to expand our road system up here, I think we're going to become very attractive for jobs to come into our area.
Very good. Mr. Edward, we've heard the rhetoric of getting government out of the way of entrepreneurs who wish to start or maintain their business. Specifically, what is your plan to help see more employment opportunities in the district?
We need to start repealing some of these laws. We have an overbearing government as it is. HB 170 tacked on the $5 hotel tax that hurts our tourism industry here. It just seems like not much one tax, but when you add them together, the hospital bed tax, the ad valorem tax, the gas tax, the ad valorem inventory tax, the list goes on and on and on. This is what's hurting our industry, our service industry, our tourism industry, our manufacturing. I want to make Georgia conducive to all businesses. A free market, true free markets, they want to come here and they never want to leave. No one's talking about they get subsidies, companies get here, but why don't we have some money left over to make them want to stay? No one's talking about that. But you've got to go back to the free market, and I believe that's the best way you can do. I'm a home builder, and I've seen how over-regulation, over-taxation hurts local businesses. And small businesses make up 70% of new jobs. And if government does not create jobs, people create jobs. You've got to get the government out of the private sector, and you'll be way better off.
Gentlemen, it's been said that Georgia has lost billions of dollars in federal funding that might have helped save some now closed rural hospitals because the state has not expanded its Medicaid program. As this is a district with several rural hospitals, what are your thoughts on Medicaid expansion and what?
Mr. Warner.
I'm definitely against Medicaid expansion. I mean, it's something that I do not think will work at all. I'm really excited about what we have going on up here in Northeast Georgia. We need to get back to where the doctors and the patients are determining their level of care, and not the insurance companies. And I think that's where we're headed. We have doctor societies that are starting. We used to have this years and years ago, and they're actually starting to come back together. And I think when they get back together, they're going to start having more clout. And we've got to get the insurance industry out of making decisions for a person. We've got to get the patient and the doctor making the decision for better care.
Mr. Garbler.
And I agree with Warner. I mean, we've got to get back to the basics, back to the community, back to doctors and patients. Funding of the Medicare, maybe they can bring more in, maybe not. But right now, it's just an overwhelming waste of money in our government as it is. I mean, I talked about the budget earlier, how it increases every year. If we want to help our communities through government, we start using it more wisely. And I think that'll be better for our rural hospitals.
Gentlemen, this next question, Mr. Oliver is going to read calls for specifics. So as such, I'm going to allow you 2 minutes to answer the question.
Since it's been said that government does not create jobs, what specific actions need to be taken to remove government as an obstacle to job creation? And how, as a freshman representative, do you intend to achieve that?
Mr. Gardler.
Well, I kind of answered it before. I want to repeal a lot of the laws. The $5 hotel tax, and once again, it is hurting our industry here. And they tack that on at midnight on signing day on the last day of session. And actually, I think it was after midnight. But they do these things, and it hurts us. You've got to try to reduce the size of government, repealing a lot of these laws. And the government's gotten so skewed. I mean, you have to have a license to cut hair now. You have to have a permit to be a lactation consultant. We're focusing on the wrong things a lot of the times. We actually named our second state fish this last session. And why are we doing this? We should be focusing on things that really matter in the Georgia legislature. And that's what I'll do if I'm elected. Try to bring jobs here. We've got to get together out of the private sector. Like I said, repeal all these things. Thank you.
A little further clarification. You specifically mentioned HB 170. How, once again, restating the question, as a freshman representative, would you go about trying to lead to that repeal?
I would go to legislative council. I would write a bill that said I would repeal the $5 hotel tax, and I would put it in the hopper. And it probably wouldn't go anywhere though, because they don't like to reduce the size of government. But at least I'll get the public aware of what's going on. I mean, you have to be active about it. There's so many missed opportunities in Atlanta for freshmen to stand up and speak out against the government and the things that they're doing, but they don't do it. And I plan to do that as well. Speak out against these things. There's so many missed opportunities. People, representatives have so much influence, and they won't do it. They don't stand up. And I plan to do that from our district. Because it is about this district, the 8th district.
Mr. Warren, would you like to repeat the question?
Well, I think I can maybe start off with it, and then if I need a review of the question, I'll ask for it. But I'm going to go on record as saying that I certainly agree with repealing the hotel tax. You know, that's one of the things I have to say since I have studied it, and us being a border county with South Carolina and North Carolina, I can see where that would hurt us. And hopefully, if it is put in the hopper and it ever does come to the floor, I would certainly want to repeal that. But to go further in what I would see, what I would like to see done, and to give an example, I think I've mentioned one time before the distilleries that we have here in Raven County. We're one of the only, I think we're the last state in the union that actually regulates. I mean, we have distilleries here, and they cannot sell their bottles. They want to bottle it here and sell it. They cannot sell it. They actually have to send the raw product to another state to be sold, and we're losing millions of dollars in revenue and tax revenue because of that. And it's just simply a regulation that we've got to cut out the middleman. And there are a lot of other industries in that same area where if we remove the middleman from that, people can, our products become more available to people, and they can be purchased. I really like to see what's going on in Union County, and I know we have plans here in Raven County to expand our farmers market, and I think that is just a fantastic thing that's going on, because products that are made here locally can be sold, and we're keeping our money right here. So those are some of the things that I would like to see and help do and be part of when elected. Do you need any more specificity? I just said the word for you.
And back to 1 minute answers on the next one.
Okay.
Mr. Gertler, you said you oppose all tax increases. How should the state fund its programs, and what specifically would be cut to help open funding for programs with increasing costs?
We can stop doing the subsidies I was talking about. That's one thing we can cut. I mean, that's hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions, probably by next year. I want to repeal the income tax. We know it's not necessary. Our neighbors in Florida and Tennessee have done this. We don't need it. We can replace this with a consumption-based tax, a sales tax. That's the most moral form of taxation we can have, because everybody pays it. And it's more efficient, because you don't have to have so many different departments to go through. Those are some of the things that I'm advocate of. We could also repeal the property tax if we'd like. At least you put it in legislation. I mean, if you have to pay rent to the government for your own property, do you really own it? You don't. That's the overbearing type of government we have.
Repeat the question one more time.
It was directed to Mr. Gertler.
Oh, okay.
On a statement he had made previously.
Oh, okay.
General question for both of you. I look around the federal government and I hear a lot of people say that it's broken. There's a lot perhaps broken in the Georgia legislature. What do you plan to do from the inside to fix it?
Mr. Warner.
Well, obviously, as a freshman representative, you're going to spend your first 2 years just learning the system. I haven't had the advantage of being an aide to any representative, so I'm going to have to spend the first 2 years, really the first year, just learning. I know there's a course that they actually have you go through during the summer before you actually start attending. But once I get in there, I just think, I did that with my schools. I didn't make really a lot of changes when I first started in school my first year. I had to go in there and learn what was going on in my school, and then the second year I made changes. And that was always very effective, because there were things, even when I went into a school and knew a school needed to be changed, there were some things that were good that I kept, some things that needed to be changed. The state government would be the same way. There are some things that are good, some things that are bad, and I would need to look at that first before I started removing things or started working on removing things.
Mr. Gertler.
Well, I'll be ready from day one. I don't have that learning curve. I've been down there for 4 years. I don't have to sit back and wait my turn and learn what's going on. I've seen it happening for 4 years. I've watched it down in Atlanta. As representatives, you have so many missed opportunities, like I said, to speak out against these things that are happening. As a freshman, I would be introducing legislation from day one. And I'm ready. I've been down there, and it should be apparent to a lot of people, it's apparent to the constituents I talk to, that resonated extremely well in the primary. But we have to speak out against things that are wrong, and that's how we change things. If you sit idly by and do nothing, you're just as guilty as the rest. And a lot of people do down there. They got me more angry what I've seen. But I do not have that learning curve. I will be able to efficiently and effectively represent us in our more towards conservative values in our community. That's what sets me apart.
Gentlemen, you've been campaigning in the counties in your district, and we're wondering what issues separate us.
In other words, what separate the different counties?
Whose question does it go to?
Mr.
Gertler. I view the 8th district as a whole. Some of the issues that maybe separate us, geography. A lot of the same issues people have in White County and towns and Union and Craven are about the same. But a lot of people need to be educated on what a state representative is. I run into a lot of constituents and they have no idea what their representative is. They more talk about federal issues. And I try to educate on the constituents. I think it's very important, this position. And I go around door to door. That's why I go to door to door, so to let people know who I am, what I stand for, and go the old school way to their door. The differences between the counties, I don't see county lines. We're all Georgians, we're all in the 8th district. But I want today's district to be a leader, to lead by example in the other districts for our voting, for our activism, and that's what I plan to do if I'm elected. By having town halls, by having every vote that I cast to be public and the explanations behind it.
Mr. Warner.
I think, looking at the differences in the district, we're a lot the same, but there are some things that some of us, some of the 4 different counties, you know, I'm including White County, you know, in that, even though it's a very small part of our district. Union County has probably done the best job of diversification. They have more small industrial jobs over there than any of the other 3. White County probably has more agriculture than any of the other 2. Towns County is primarily a tourism, and they know that. That's what I've heard from the people over there. They're scared to death. They know that tourism is the only thing that keeps them going, and if something ever happens with the economy and tourism drops, they're going to be hurt. It's happened once before in recent memory, and they're concerned about it. Raven County has a little bit more industry in it, but we've lost industry, and we certainly need to bring it back. And I'd love to see it brought in all 3. I'd love to see it, all 3 towns, Raven and Union, brought back to Loveless. It is in Union.
Mr. Warner, this question is for you. You have received the endorsement of your fellow candidates, David Barton of Suches and Joshua Luttrell of Tiger. What other endorsements have you received?
Well, I've received the Georgia Right to Life endorsement and also the Georgia Chamber of Commerce endorsement.
A follow-up to that, having your 2 competitors, one who on a very stage of the debate hosted by us, attacked you fairly heavily, especially regarding PAC money. What was in negotiations? Was there any issue that was negotiated out as far as him wanting to get something off his chest or anything of that nature in terms of that, or was it just flat out endorsement?
No, he actually was the first one to endorse me. Barton wanted to take a week and think about it. I called everybody that night. I called Matt and congratulated him. I actually left a voicemail on his phone and congratulated him on his win. He called me back and I said, well, it looks like we've got a few more months to go, you know, and we both got aside at that point. But I called Josh and then I called David and thanked them both for running. And David said he wanted to take a week and think about things. And I didn't know really what he meant by that. But Josh told me that night that he wanted to think, he didn't have to think about things. I mean, he just came out. I never asked either one of them for their endorsement. He said he wanted to endorse me. We had lunch one day and we just planned for that endorsement. A week later, David called me. We had breakfast and he said he had made the decision to endorse me.
Mr. Gertler, you received the endorsement of the NRA. Tell us what other endorsements you've received.
I received the endorsement of the NRA. I have the highest rating for that, actually. And Georgia Carry, I didn't see the endorsement. American Federation for Children, Georgia Right to Life. I'm missing another one. But it's not about endorsements. It's really about the issues and who you are, and that's what matters to us.
Mr. Warner, in the general primary election, you were able to win over Raven County voters. What actions are you taking to win over the other voters?
Well, I hope everybody realizes that I started a month later than everybody else. And so I didn't have as much time to go to different events, to go into neighborhoods and meet people. So I feel like Raven County knows me. I've been a principal here and they've known me. So I'll be honest, I have spent a lot of time in Union County, Towns County, and White County, going to different events and getting to know the people. And it's been a lot of fun. I have to say that has been the fun part of the campaign, is meeting all the wonderful people, not just in Raymond County, but in Union County, Towns County, and White County. There are a lot of great people in this area, and I've gone to numerous events and met a lot of people. They've contacted me, and I'm just trying to meet as many of them as I can, as fast as I can.
Mr. Governor, you won over Union, Towns, and White County voters. What's your plan to gain support here in Raven County?
Same thing I've been doing. I go door to door. I knew Raven County was going to be split, just 3 of us from here. So it's very hard to campaign because all of split 3 from Metro in the same county. But I do the same thing, and I go door to door and go straight to the constituent. That's important. I've actually had the best experience in my life going door to door because it's been so enlightening. I ask the voters what's particularly important to them at every door, and something's always different. That's how you learn from the district. That's how you know people's issues. I certainly don't know everything. I want to be in touch as the most in touch state representative and the most successful state representative I'm elected. You'll be able to get a hold of me anytime. But the campaigning experience of going door to door has been overwhelming. The support that really has showed, especially in the primary, and I'm going to continue doing that because that's what it's about. It's about the people.
For both candidates, in light of the recent events such as the Orlando nightclub shooting, what, in your opinion, is the state's role in measures of gun control?
Mr. Warner.
I don't think that we should be in gun control at all. I keep thinking back to that situation. A couple of us have talked about that. If somebody had been in that nightclub armed, then I think that lives would have been saved. And I'm totally against really any kind of measure of gun control because let's face it, the terrorist or the person who wants to go do harm to somebody, they're going to find a way to get control of a gun. So any kind of gun control legislation that we put in is not going to keep the guns out of the criminals or the terrorists. And they're going to find a way to get one, and they're going to be able to get into wherever they want to and use those. But like I said, had somebody been inside there, and I dare say that there wouldn't have been 49 people killed and 53 people injured. I think it could have been kept much lower.
Mr. Earler.
Yeah, we will end the tragedy. It's horrible, but we don't need more gun control. We need more people involved. You cannot be taking rights away from law-abiding citizens for the actions of a few. Like the no-fly list, I heard from the federal government saying that they wouldn't put people on a no-fly list have no guns. But there's no due process there. That's in our 6th Amendment. We should always uphold the Constitution, like I say. It won't be a problem. The federal government is doing this. Our state government certainly is going to try to put in more legislation coming this January. Try to have more gun control, try to save lives. When more armed law-abiding citizens with guns is actually safer. Criminals don't follow the law in the first place. That's why they're criminals. I mean, gun safe zones are criminal safe zones, if that makes sense. But I'm an NRA instructor. I believe in safety, but we have to have more people with the right training, of course. But if I would like to actually plan on introducing constitutional carry, which you would have to ask permission from government to exercise their rights.
Okay, gentlemen. With social issues such as the transgender bathroom use issue affecting our neighboring state, with President Barack Obama's Dear Colleague letter sent to our local school system, we know that Georgia has taken a stance against that matter. What are your thoughts?
Mr. Gertler.
Could you repeat the question? Sorry.
With social issues such as the transgender bathroom use affecting our neighboring state, with President Barack Obama's Dear Colleague letter to our local school system, what should Georgia's position be on such matters?
Like, I think the government should be out of it altogether. I mean, it's kind of a silly subject that we're talking about. That they kind of, the government has to tell you which bathroom to use. There's a problem there. But the government has, the government should get out of marriage and religion altogether while we're talking about that. That's all I have to say about that.
Mr. Warner.
I've thought about that issue a lot, and with our modern schools, I mean, it's a relatively simple issue. Most of we're talking about schools, most of our schools have what we call, what we refer to as gang bathrooms, where you have a girls' restroom and a boys' restroom. But in most of our schools, we have, at modern schools, we have individual restrooms. And if someone needs to go, they feel like they're not sure which restroom they can go in, I think they could certainly be assigned to that, and that would be an easy answer, an easy solution to that problem. But I do agree with Matt. I mean, the government really needs to stay out of it, but if we're going to be forced to do that, then there's an easy solution to that problem.
The follow-up question is, with that said, what should be the government's role in setting social policies?
Mr. Warner?
Well, again, the government should be out of setting social policies. I mean, this is America. We're free to choose and do what we want to do, as long as we don't interfere with others. And I just don't think the federal government has any place in setting any kind of social policies for us. I mean, they just have no place in that.
Mr. Garland?
I mean, we're in agreement. I mean, the government shouldn't be involved in religion and the matter of that. In marriage, that's between people and God and their God, and that's it. And things like this that take a lot of time, real issues and social issues, and the issue of all this, should be talking about real important things for our state.
Poverty is a widespread issue in Raven County, perhaps throughout District 8. What is the government's role in finding solutions to this issue?
Mr. Garland?
I think it comes down to having a good community, church getting involved, helping the poor, and things of that nature. If you have money from the state, it should be allocated to certain programs with extreme oversight, and what's going to happen. But there's too much government dependency nowadays. You see that all the time, generations of it, and that's the product of a big government. These kind of situations, I think, every situation is different, but it should be left up to the community and its people to take care of its own.
Mr. Warner?
I agree with Matt. Certainly, I would like to see the community in Raven County. I know in particular takes very good care of our people that are living in poverty in the community. The state's level, however, I think I like Mr. Martin's answer perhaps the best, is to give the people some support until they're able to get on their own feet. What I've never understood is when they just start to get on their feet, then we pull that support away and then they have to go back. And I think we could make some changes. I would almost rather see somebody get half the support they need and while they're working and getting their feet back under them, and then slowly remove that instead of just taking it away immediately. And that's what I think needs to happen. I would much rather be paying somebody half of what we were paying to support them and them earning the money, and then maybe eventually being able to get off, than to just for them just to say, well, why am I doing this? I'm going to lose all my benefits, so I'm just going to quit working and go back.
This question is for Mr. Garland. Many Raven County residents were dismayed at Representative Stephen Allison's opposition to an initiative to join other Georgia counties in offering school tax relief to senior citizens. As his protege, can you tell us how you see that issue?
Well, I did work with Stephen for 4 years, but we certainly didn't agree on everything. If we did, I think there was something wrong there. But I'm different from Stephen on that. I think that we should have it on the ballot for school taxes and for seniors. If you don't have any kids in the school system and you're paying the school tax, and then where's the proper representation of that? But ultimately, it should be a decision that people will make and have to make on the ballot. That's what we're talking about here. And I'm in favor of that. And if people can vote on it, they want to.
Mr. Warner, do you have any thoughts on that issue?
Yes, I do. I think the same thing. There should be something that's put on the ballot, and the people should be able to vote on it. But I'd like to go back to what was said, and I believe Matt said it a little earlier. I mean, I'd like to see us completely do away with both the income tax and the property tax and go to a consumption tax, a fair tax. I think that's the only way. I think that's the only solution to this problem, because property taxes, I mean, you're just setting an arbitrary value on a piece of property that you have right there, and then you're taxed on it. And I've never felt like that was a good way to be taxed. I think a consumption tax is really the only way to go down the road.
Gentlemen, this may be a bit of a curveball, but cordially, if you could ask a question of your fellow candidate, what would it be?
Mr. Warner.
Cordially. Well, I'm just trying to think of a cordial question. One of the things that I've always wanted to know, Matt, I wanted to ask him how he's been able to survive these 3 months, because I know he said he was living off savings, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, there were no savings disclosed on his personal financial disclosure statement. And I thought, there's a certain amount of money, I can't remember how much it is, $5,000 or something like that. If you have more than that in the bank, you need to disclose that. And so I was sitting there thinking to myself, how is he surviving, paying for the gas and everything to travel and eat and pay his power bill and his water bill and all those kinds of things? I was just wondering how he was able to do that.
Would you like to answer the question?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's not in the bank, and, it's less than 5,000 if even was disclosed. I live conservatively, I live frugally. I've dedicated all my time to this campaign, and it'll be about 6 months of actual campaigning when the election comes to the end. That's how much I care about it, and people really see that. And I'm really passionate about the things I'm doing, and I've been able to survive because I do live by the principles that I actually talk about. That's the way I do it.
Is there a question you would like to ask Mr. Warner? Cordially.
Why do you agree with tax subsidies?
Well, I just think that anytime, if you can offer a company, I go back, can I use this as an example? Can I go to the example of the Super Bowl? Okay, we were going to give the Super Bowl, the selling of tickets, we were going to let them sell tax-free, and that was going to cost the state about $6 million. In other words, the revenue we weren't going to receive. Yet when we turn it around, if we do get the Super Bowl, it's going to actually bring in about $30 million. So I see a subsidy like that being an investment. I mean, if I can invest $6 million and get $30 million and come out to the good of $24 million for the state, I just see that as a bonus for the state.
Gentlemen, we'd like to thank both of you for your time and effort tonight. We know it's been a long campaign season. Can we please give a round of applause to both Kent Warner and Matt Gerler? We'd also like to thank those of you who joined us tonight live here at the Amara Center, also our live webcast. As always, we will be posting HD high-definition videos of this on our YouTube channel. Also, a special thank you to Tony Allred, who joined us from the Raven County Chamber of Commerce and took time out of his night to participate. Thank you, everybody. Drive safely and good night.
Yes, sir.
I think y'all do a good job. I'm Bill Chase.
Oh, nice to meet you. I'm Megan.
Your name is?
Megan.
Megan, oh yeah, okay.